Hey guys, how's it going? Make sure that you can hear me. Can somebody in the questions channel make sure to go in and say, hey, we can hear you or something. And you'll be about 20 seconds behind me, so it might take us just a second for everybody to see this. But I will wait for confirmation, and then we might wait for a couple more minutes. Cool, looks like you can hear me. Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It's really good to be here. It looks like we'll have quite a few people participating, but yeah, it should be pretty cool. That is indeed the questions channel. All right, cool. So before we get started, and while we're waiting for some more people to trickle in, we're going to take care of some basic, I guess, housekeeping. First of all, as we're doing these streams, let me see how loud I'm talking. Oh, wow, that's really loud. As we're doing these streams, you shouldn't need to code along. So there are going to be a lot of people that throughout the course, I know it's going to happen already. You say, I was trying to keep up and I'm behind. Don't code along. Take notes. There's no way you can keep up typing as fast as somebody who knows what they're going to type in advance can type. Just take notes. And yeah, the other thing is a lot of people are asking about what programs you need to get started, what you need in advance. You don't need anything. You should be ready to go. One sec. Okay, there we go. Those subtitles are turned on my end. YouTube should be subtitling. Making sure we're all on the same page. All right, cool. And one other thing is I only pay attention as we're streaming to the questions channel. So you can find that at #questions. But the other channels I don't have time to pay attention to. There's just too much going on. So please try to keep that channel clean, and we'll stick to just the questions that are in that channel. While we're getting started, we'll go ahead and answer a couple other questions. The videos are going to be archived, so the link that you use to get here, you can use as soon as the stream is over, and that will always let you view the videos forever. We'll also put up LambdaSchool.com/archive, so you'll be able to view that as well. And as soon as this is over, we'll make a list of all the videos, and that should work for that. We're going to wait just a couple more minutes for people to trickle on in. Check general, see what's going on. Yeah, no way I'm keeping up with all of that. And give it just a couple more minutes. This lesson will be about an hour, so a little bit less. Yeah, and if you see a question that you can answer in the questions channel, that would be really helpful. Cool, we'll give it just a couple more minutes for a few more people to trickle in. And yeah, I think it's about time. Let's go ahead and get started. Let me make sure I've got that window open. And people that are asking me to invite their friends last minute, I'm sorry, I just can't keep track of all of that. So yes, you can definitely have your money back. All right, I'm gonna start paying attention to that now. And there've been a lot of people, so let's first talk about what this mini bootcamp is. And basically to start out, we're gonna do every Monday and every Friday, basically teach people how to program. We're gonna start at the very, very basics, and we're gonna build up through some pretty advanced stuff. It's 100% free, anybody's welcome, invite your friends, the archive will be around forever. We'll have an assignment that you'll be asked to do with each lesson. If you don't get that assignment in time, there's nobody that's gonna come after you. It's all up to you. let's see. So yeah, we'll do Monday and Friday at this time. The streams will last about an hour. The homework will probably take you a couple hours. It depends on how experienced you are. If you're an expert programmer, it might be really fast. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and jump in. So first of all, there's a lot of confusion around who we are and what we do. So we have various different code boot camps. The one that you're in right now is called the Mini Code Bootcamp. And that basically takes you through the very beginning to a somewhat high level, kind of an intermediate level of programming. And we do that completely for free. So friends are hosting us in Office Space, and we do that just to help people out. As far as YouTube goes, if you can't get a smooth stream, make sure to edit or change the level of quality that you're at. If you have a really high quality stream, or if you have fast internet, then you can go with a higher quality stream. If you have slower internet, then you might need to tone it down a little bit. You'll probably need to be around 700 just to get if you want to see the code, but we'll turn it up really, we'll make our screens really big. And yeah, before we get started, we do want to make one big announcement. And this is the announcement that everybody has been waiting for. And we'll make sure that you hear about this for a really long time. But if you go to LambdaUniversity.com, that's LAMBDA university.com, you'll see the new program that we're launching. And this is a 6-month program. It will take you through basically an entire CS program from a 4-year university. If you took away everything other than the computer science, this will take you all the way through that. And it's free up front. So anybody can participate. There'll be a pretty rigorous selection process, but it is entirely free up front. And we'll take, instead of doing upfront tuition, we want to make that available to as many people as possible. So we're doing a percentage of your income for the first 2 years after you get a job. And if you don't get a job that pays more than $50,000 a year, you never pay us a thing. So we're launching this right now. It's LambdaUniversity.com, and there are going to be a lot of people applying. So we'll have to sift through a lot of applications. We're going to keep it small in the beginning, and then slowly open it up a little bit more. But a lot of you have been saying, hey, I can't afford some of the other stuff you guys do. This should be the ideal solution. And it looks like you guys are as excited about as I am. This is something I've been working on pretty much my entire life, and making the numbers work and having enough that you can kind of risk people not paying back or whatever is something that's taken a really long time for us to figure out. So check that out. It's open to anyone. The admissions process is race and gender blind. We won't know who you are. We'll use a moniker as we go throughout the admissions process. And once you're accepted, you'll be accepted. And it'll be really, really cool. We hope that eventually we can roll this out to more stuff than just computer science. If you look at the coming soon section, you see that we're working right now on data science and artificial intelligence and machine learning. You do have the option to pay up front. If you want to pay for the whole 6 months up front, it's $20,000, and then you never have to pay any of your income after that. And we'd know that the 17% of income over 2 years is going to be more than $20,000, but it's free. So we're basically finding people to invest in and take a risk on. So we want you to be completely aligned. And the other thing that we're announcing is, if you can't do the 6 months or you can't get into that, we also have a part-time program, and we're breaking that down to the lowest payments that we can possibly go. So that one, it used to be $4,500 up front, and there was no other way to do it. Now it's going to be $1,000 up front, and then $350 a year, or sorry, $350 a month for 12 months. And that is as low as we can possibly make it, but we hope that $350 is something that people can cash flow. But that's the end of me talking about me. Now we're going to start and get into some code. The question, does this cover math? It'll cover the math that's required to get a job, basically, to be a good programmer. And we're working with a lot of the top companies in Silicon Valley. We can't announce that yet, but they're definitely companies you've heard of. They're definitely very, very real companies that are taken very, very seriously. So it won't be an accredited university, but it will be an accepted form of credit for everybody that matters, which is why you want to go to an accredited university anyway. So yes, you've already got a couple of the companies, right? And it is 100% online. So the idea is that anybody can stay at home as long as you can buy yourself 6 months of time. You'll be able to get a top quality computer science degree. We built that curriculum from the ground up in cooperation with our hiring partners, which start with G and F and are very, very legitimate. But let's get back to the topic at hand. For the mini bootcamp, don't code along, just take notes. And then we'll have homework that we'll share with you after the lecture is complete. And doing that homework is where you'll go. And with that, and we'll do a bigger info session after the stream. We want to get into this a little bit more, but we need to, there are people that aren't interested, and we're not going to make you sit here like it's a timeshare presentation for that. So we'll start coding. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You might see a little bit of inception for a minute while we exit out of there. All right, cool. So the first thing I want you guys to look at is this Word document. You've probably seen something very similar to it before. It's just text. Up here, we've got a header. We have some paragraphs. We've got some stuff in bold. We have some italics. We have some links. And this is something you're really familiar with. If you want to save this, you can save it as a .doc or a .docx file. You can send it to your friend, and if they have Microsoft Word, they can open it up just the same way. What Word is basically pretty much the same way a web browser works, even though that's not something we talk about very often. So here is, if I can open it up. This is that same file, but in HTML format instead of in .docx format. So here we have a header 1, and it says this is a web page, and then we have a bunch of text. And just the same way that you can save a .doc file and send it to a friend, we can go ahead and instead of opening this up in Word, we can open it up in a browser. And so this is loading directly from my computer. It's the same thing that you'd be reading. So we're going to talk a little bit about what that is today and how that works, what HTML is, what it means, how you can write HTML. And I hope that what you'll find is it's actually really, really simple. And you can write an HTML file just as easily as you can write a Word file, and you can make changes just as easily. And it's really straightforward. It's basically an empty canvas you can work on. So let's go ahead and let's open up a little bit bigger this HTML file. And let's look at what it consists of. We'll disregard that because I saved that from the internet. So up here we have what we call the doc type declaration, and that's just something that says, hey, this is HTML. After that, we have HTML, and we don't even actually need that part. And really all your HTML file is it consists of open and closing tags. So we might open the tag like this, something, and then we close it with something. And whatever you put inside of this tag, that belongs to this open and close tab. And you can nest in multiple tags inside of each other. So if we look at the traditional HTML file, you have a head, and that's kind of where you put your meta information. So if you see this words right here, when we open that up in Chrome, let's get them both on the screen. That goes right there. That's the title tag. And if we say, look at the head, that's, yeah, so the title's right there. And then we have the body. So your HTML document is separated out into a head and a body. The head is kind of information for the browser, and then the body is where the bulk of your HTML file will live. And as we can see here, it's just the same as a Word file. So we have an open H1, that's a header 1, and then we say, this is a web page, and then this little / right here, that's just how we close the tag. So if we wanted to, we could come in here, and instead of H1, we could say H2, H3, H4, H5, and then we'll close the tag on the other side, save it, refresh it over here, and you can see H1, H2, H3, H4, H5. So the browser knows when you say H2, it knows what that looks like. And if you open it up in a different browser, it'll render slightly differently, but they all speak the same language. They all get the same idea. I'm going to jump in and make sure I'm not missing any major questions. A lot about people having trouble with the live stream. Sorry about that. We'll make sure it's uploaded. Yeah, so that is very basic HTML and CSS. So we can look at a few different tags in here and show you what they are. So if we look at strong, let's take the word obsessed right here, and let's surround it with strong. Save that. So we're looking at obsessed, this word right here. As we refresh, we can see it becomes bold. We'll take the same word again, and instead of strong, we'll put it in EM, or emphasis. Again, we're looking at this obsessed, save, refresh, and it makes it italicized. So it's pretty straightforward. You surround something in these different tags, and it will render the text a little bit differently. So we're really just writing text in our web page. You can see in here there's a lot of strongs, there's some emphases, there's some italics, and then this little guy right here, the A tag, that's what we do for links. So if we take this H1, which is this top header right here, and we surround it in an A tag, A href. And don't worry about the syntax too much right now. It turns that into a link, and it knows what it should look like when it renders a link. So here's how an A tag works. We do A, which is the anchor text, anchor tag. Anchor is just how we say link, and then we close the A. This is the text that turns blue. So that's not blue yet because it's not pointing anywhere. But once we enter in the hypertext reference, which is the place that it should go, it turns blue and it becomes a link. So it's smart. It knows that it should underline it. It knows that when you put your cursor over it, it should turn into a little hand. And if we hit that link, we'll go to Google. So that's pretty basic. You should understand a lot of that. There's some tags that you perhaps don't understand what they are, but luckily those are only a Google away. This editor right here is Sublime. I also have Atom. Any editor will work for our homework, but again, you shouldn't be coding along yet. You should only be watching and taking notes. There are a few text editors. The biggest are probably Atom, Sublime, and Brackets. But the same way that you write in a Word doc and then you make changes and you can save it and load it up in Word, for web browsers, for HTML files, we make the changes in a text editor and then we load them in the browser. So if we start a p tag and we say hello, in between the H3 and the H4, save, it's going to enter hello. So really simple stuff. You probably get that already. There's not too much to it. A couple things that you need to know is that white space doesn't really count. That's not going to do anything. Right inside these tags it will, but right here, it really won't make a difference. So white space is not a big deal. And that's pretty much what an HTML file is. Every web page that you see, it's just got an open and close HTML tag. You can see it's closed down here, it's open up here. It's got a head where you can put kind of some information for you, and then a body, and you're basically just plugging in a lot of text and images and other stuff. Oh, images. We should talk about that real quick. So actually, let's grab this image. We're going to grab the image address. So an image is a different kind of tag that you don't actually need to close. But we do image source equals some URL, and it'll go ahead and load that right into our page. So you can see we're hot linking from Google's image right now. Anything that's on the web you can link, and if it's on your server, you can link to it as well. So we could save this on our computer, and our computer, by the way, so when I say server, a server is just a computer that's connected to the internet. So right now, even though you guys can't connect to my computer is acting as a server. And there's some special things we do to servers to make them publicly available, but as long as you have files that are connected to the internet, that's all the web is. A bunch of servers, a bunch of computers loading a bunch of files. And I know that that's probably seems simple to a lot of you, but that's something that a lot of people miss. And it's really, really important to understand that at the end of the day, what's happening is your browser is loading a file from some computer somewhere on the web. Now the question is, this looks really boring. Actually, let's jump in and see what questions there are first. Yeah, so there are a lot of questions around indentification, which is, normally this kind of white space is a bad practice. And the indentification, there's not too much indentification to do here because it's all kind of stacked, but let's look down here, for example. So this lets us break it out, and the text editor doesn't see the white space, and so it just makes it more readable if you're a human. So we could even go like this after each paragraph, before each paragraph. It wouldn't change the way anything is rendered in the browser, but it makes it a lot more visible for a human. So as you can see, I have my body, and then everything else I've indented in one step. And that's just a really good practice that makes things really easy to use. Yep, this is very basic. We're going to go very basic. An A tag, does it have to be closed? Yes, an A tag does have to be closed. So we have an A. A tags are kind of funny because they're really long, but they're really just a tag. The only difference is they have a little bit of information inside the tag, whereas, for example, your H1 might not. There's some stuff that you do. Are you tabs or spaces? I'm not even going to answer that. You can see, if you look, what the default is, and I haven't changed it because it literally does not matter. Cool. So what does a self-closing tag mean? That just means, you see here we have image and we don't have a closing image. That's because image is a self-closing tag and it doesn't need that. Another question is, what does the doc type HTML do? Actually, we can even load it without that and it'll be just fine. It's just a way that we like to kind of double and triple check that the browser knows that it's HTML and it's not going to mess anything up. So yeah, that's HTML. Those are tags. You open and close a tag. You write some text inside, and we'll get a lot of practice. So don't stress if that doesn't make too much sense yet. Is there a way to know if a tag is self-closing? Yeah, that's just pure memorization. The vast majority of tags have an open and a close. Some, like an image, don't. But you'll just, the different tags are really basic, and there's something that you'll just get used to as we go along. Closing a self-closing tag is fine. Yeah, some people like to do something like that just to make themselves feel good. It's not necessary, and it's kind of a personal preference. It's one of those things that some programmers argue over that isn't really important. There are actually a lot of those things. But yeah, so the next question is what goes in the head? So we have a title tag here. We can have a meta description. So if we look at LambdaSchool, oh shoot, I meant to Google that. If we Google LambdaSchool, we can see LambdaSchool's meta description right there. So a meta description is just a way that we provide some information to Facebook and Twitter and Google and other stuff like that. But what we're going to talk about next, we've only got a few minutes left. It goes really quickly. Actually, there's a really good question there. How do we add comments in HTML? And comments are something that you will use a lot, even in HTML. And a comment is actually just an open tag with an exclamation point, 2 dashes, and then you close it the same way. So anything in here is a comment, and you can type whatever you want, and it will never make a difference to HTML. So open tag, exclamation, dash, dash, and then dash, dash, closing bracket to close. Is anybody confused with anything? Yeah, and there are single line comments as well, not just dash, dash, comment, depending on how you're doing it. But generally speaking, that's true. I'm going to wait just a second to see if there are any more questions coming in. And it looks like we are good. So we're going to talk a little bit about CSS. So as we can see here, we've got the structure, we've got all the content. This is a pretty solid web page. It'll load on pretty much every browser perfectly fine. But what we're missing here is the styling. It's kind of, it's basic, it may not be ugly, but we don't have control. So some of you were asking before, how do you make this bigger? How do you make it smaller? And the answer is, if you're just relying on what's built into the browser, you can't. And the only way we can is by using something we called CSS, or cascading style sheets. So some others of you are asking what the link tag is, and we're going to use a link tag right now. So this is something that you learn about programmers. I still, to this day, I've probably done it for 10 years, I don't know the syntax for CSS Link, so I Google it every single time. And maybe that's silly, but I guarantee you I'm not the only person in the world that does that, and there are a lot of people that don't understand really basic stuff. So this is your link. This is the way you can link off to other documents. So we have link rel equals style sheet, type equals text CSS. That's just built-in boilerplate. Why is it there? Who knows? But it is, so we deal with it. And then href, we're basically linking here to a CSS file. So let's call this custom.css. And I'm loading words right now off of my desktop. So you can see words.html is right there. And so if I want to link something, all I have to do is in the same place, let's actually open up a new file, and we'll call it custom.css, save it, right in the same folder. So these are just in the desktop. We could put them both in some other folder if we wanted to. Now they're in Hey, and I'm gonna have to open them from desktop and then Hey, words.html, there it is, the same file. So what CSS lets us do is it lets us style things. And there are a few different ways that we can style things. We're going to go over just a couple. So does the location of the CSS link matter? Technically, it doesn't. Technically, you can have it wherever you want, but it's just accepted best practice that it goes inside of head. And yeah, so these are now linked. And the only reason they're linked, there's always a lot of confusion behind this, is because we say custom.css, and this is called custom.css, and they're in the same folder. So if we wanted to, we could put this in some folder /custom.css, And inside of our hey folder, so we could create a new folder called, what did I call that? Some folder / custom.css. So it's just using the same architecture as you would for anything else. You're just saying here is the folder / here is the file, and as long as those are connected, it works. So how does that actually work? Let's start out with the body. So let's say we want to style the body. So the body is one of the tags, and let's say we want to target that tag. We just say body, and then we do this kind of funny open squiggly brace, and then a closed squiggly brace. And then basically we can issue rules here. So we can say whatever we want as long as it's something that's recognized by the browser. So one of the rules that you can issue is background. And we can say we want our background to be blue. And let's see. Oh, we did something wrong. Some folder / custom.css. Let's make sure that's in the right place. Hey, some folder custom CSS. And yeah, that's the risk you run when you're doing something fancy. We'll go ahead and pull that back out. Okay, there we go. Background is blue. Let's make sure we have the right folder loaded. I didn't put it in the right place because I was trying to be cute. And that's why you don't be cute. Okay, so we got body, background, blue. All right, we got our background blue. What if we wanted to mess with the A tags? A, we say we want color to be white. There you go, it's white. Yeah, definitely don't be cute. What is the difference between HTML and HTML5? The real difference is that HTML5 is just kind of a modern way of writing HTML that is recognized. And we'll go into that a little bit later. But instead of things like divs, it'll use things like sections. But it's just a kind of a new version of HTML. All the browsers will support HTML. All browsers will support HTML5. Yeah. So another thing that I see people asking about is, can we use color codes? So what if I don't like this particular color of blue? What if I want something that's really specific? What if I want to take this exact color of green from this site? How can we do that? And we're going to show you right now how to have superpowers on the web. And that is by using what we call inspect element in Chrome. So one of the cool things about Chrome is anything you see, you can right click on and say inspect. And it's going to open up this tray over here that shows you what HTML it's loading and then what CSS it's loading. And it's going to show you exactly what CSS is targeting the element that you just clicked on. So if you want to learn CSS just by right clicking and looking at what the CSS is, you can totally do that. But right now I'm looking for this particular color of this button. Not seeing it yet. Might be because it's hidden. Let's grab that one. There we go. So they're using this color right here. And if we want to say our color is this hexadecimal symbol, that will work. And now our links are that color. So the things that I want you guys to understand from this is that in our CSS file that's linked inside of our HTML file, you write a tag type. So we could even say P for paragraph. And then you write a declaration, a colon, you specify what that should be, and you write a semicolon. And most of this you'll actually just learn through sheer repetition. So there we just underlined all of our text. And there are a few different ways that HTML can target things. Right now we're just going by tag, but there are a couple different ways that you need to understand before we go any farther. So the first is class. So we have all these paragraphs right here. And we can say, instead of, what if we don't want to target all the paragraphs? What if we just want to target this one that says just words? We can say P, and then inside the P tag, you can say class equals something. And then on this side, the way you target a class is with a dot. So just remember, a class is with a dot. And we called our class something over here. So we just have to match up our CSS to that HTML. We can say something. And let's say background pink. What was that? Just words. Oh, actually, that's a really bad example. Let's say color green. For some reason they have become not linked. I don't know why. This is a fun part of programming that we call debugging in front of thousands of people. It could be p dot something. In fact, it might be some specificity rule. Well, no, it's all pink. Does color always have to be spelled wrong in HTML? No, it has to be spelled right. Sorry about that. All right, let's go ahead and create a new div up here. A div is just a way that you create a division in your HTML. And sometimes early spacing, sometimes not. But let's give this class equals first div. And now first div, did I use hyphen? I did. Dang it. All right, we're in Hey, words, and custom. Okay, so let's say we gave our div class of first div. So let's do first div. I have no idea why that is not working. That is really weird. Anyway, so basically, we can choose different elements to target, and we can give them class. Let's say this. I do not know what's happening here. There's something messed up in how they're linked. Let's just nuke all of that. And we'll start over. Oh, you know what I bet it is? I think I was showing you guys something to be tricky and then mess it up. Okay, so here we have custom.css. We'll load that up too. All right, there we go. Now they're working. The lesson you learn from this is that you don't create multiple versions of different files and have them in different folders. Let's go ahead and bring up words again. So we have our div, and the class is first div. And we've made that whole div 28 pixels. But then if we say paragraph, 18 pixels, it brings it back down. Why is that? So what actually happens is CSS works in a couple different ways. And the first is it will find the most exact element that you're trying to target, whether it's, so the more exact you are, the more the rule is going to override the others. So the more exact, the more it wins. And then what if we have two things that say the same thing? As 100 pixels, it just became 100 pixels. And that's actually really simple. It's because at the end of the day, whatever is on bottom wins. And that's even true if we were to create another CSS file. And we could call it custom2. Put it in the same place. And let's say we want to bring it back down to 50 pixels. The second custom is going to override this first custom because it's on bottom. And that's all it is. This C in cascading, of cascading style sheets, it's just saying that whatever's on bottom wins. So whatever's the most specific wins, and then if there's a tie, whatever is on the bottom wins. So now let's go ahead and look at a couple examples. So we're going to leave our HTML and our head the same. And just for a minute, we're going to play with this body here. And I'm going to erase everything. So it's just plain white. And inside this body, which is not indented correctly, we're going to create 4 divs. And we're going to give them each a class. Class of 1, 2, 3, 4. And just so you can see where they are, we'll put some letters in there. Here are 4 divs. A is in the first one, B is in the second, C is in the third, and D is in the fourth. Now we can take div that's class 1, and we can change its width and its height. So let's say width is 100 pixels, height is 150 pixels, and just so we can see what it looks like, let's make the background red. It doesn't like single. All right, so we made that one red. And now let's go ahead and make the second. We'll make it 500 pixels wide, 50 pixels tall, and background of green. And as you can see, they layer right on top of one another. And for class 3, let's say the width is 100%, the height is 1,000 pixels, and the background is yellow. All right, it looks like that. And as you can see, basically, class is just a way that you can target a specific element. If we wanted to get really specific, maybe we said that all of these are class 1. Now you have 4 red squares basically on top of each other. We could give them IDs. ID equals ID2. And an ID, instead of using a dot, you'll use the pound sign. ID2 with 50%, 500 pixels. So you can see that you basically have total control over each element, and they're stacked on top of each other. So what if we gave each of these 100% width? That let's make this one. We basically let's see. We'll make this one class 2, class 3, class 4 again. You just designed a very simple web layout. So what's the difference between class and ID? The only difference between class and ID is that you can have multiple classes, or you can assign a class to multiple things. So this one can be class 1 and this one can be class 2. But this one and this one can't both be ID2. So you use class for things that there are multiple of, and you can use ID for things that there are only one of. So maybe your ID is a logo. A div can hold multiple p tags. Yep, it can. Can you clarify what you mean by more specific? Yeah, that's a great question. So the real answer is that that's something that CSS has rules written for. So if, for example, we're looking at, a head, or say a body tag, and inside of a body tag, we have a div tag. And if we have both, a body, we'll say background green, and then a div tag, and the background is yellow, you can see the body is going to be green. But once we're inside the div, because the div is within the body tag, it's more specific, it's going to be yellow. And then, you could go even farther and say, okay, P, so the paragraphs, do we have paragraphs in there? Let's make sure they're paragraphs. Let's make the background blue for that paragraph. So the paragraph here is overriding the background of the div because the div only contains a paragraph. So it's something that you'll have to kind of get used to, what is more specific, but there's basically a hierarchy, and you can even chain things together. So you can say if there's a P within a div or P directly followed by it, following a div, change only that. But it's just something that you'll have to get used to by playing with it. Can you make the width, say 50%, but also make it a minimum amount of pixels? So there are a couple things that you'll learn to play with in the homework. There's something called max width. And we can say max width is 50 pixels. And we can have min width, 20 pixels. So what happens there? So that makes it, let's say 500, 200. So our max width is 50. You can see it's kind of shrinking. But once it gets to a certain size, let's make it 42. It just kind of stops, and that's not a very good example because you can't see it. But what we want you to get used to doing is playing with these different CSS elements. So what a lot of the homework is today is basically playing with width and height and background color to make your web page look very specific ways. So we're going to go ahead. And have a first look at our homework. So this is called GitHub, and this is where the homework is going to live. And basically, your homework consists of 3 different files. So if we go in here into the first, we can see the first one. And here is a picture. Your job is to create HTML that will look just like this. So you'll have to use divs and percentages and widths and numbers of pixels, and you'll have to do some Googling to find some different rules, but that's part of the discovery process that you have to learn. So going back a little bit, our goal is not to teach you to program. Our goal is to teach you to be a programmer, which means you have to learn how to do some things, and you have to learn how to find things, and you have to learn how to search for things. So the first one you want to create is this. And if you want to download this, you can just hit download right there, and it'll download the file. And we already have an HTML and a CSS file within each of those folders, so you can just do all of your work outside of this file that you download. And the second one, it looks like this. So that's a little bit more difficult. And this image you can make be any image you want down in the bottom right. And the third one looks like this. This is going to be really difficult. We're not going to worry about being responsive or what happens on a mobile device right now. We're just going to lay this out as best we can, and we'll be there all along the way providing resources and hints and helping out as much as we can. And for that, we're opening up a new Slack channel, and that Slack channel is Web Assignment 1. I will drop that in general right now. So in Web Assignment 1, if you go there, you can see a link to the first homework that's pinned. And that is also where you will submit your homework. So when you submit it, you can upload it somewhere, either CodePen or GitHub. If you understand GitHub, we'll provide you a document that talks about how to upload manually to GitHub. We know that you don't know how to use the command line yet. But that is where you'll drop your homework, and you'll be able to look at everybody else's homework. So we're going to learn over these next few days how to create HTML layouts that are static, and they may only work. Please don't archive that channel, or I'll have to unarchive it. But yeah, you'll have to learn how to create basic HTML layouts. And that is surprisingly it for today. I know that probably went really fast, so I'm going to stick around for the next probably 10 minutes and try to answer some questions. And then after that, if there's anybody who is interested We're going to talk about, what LambdaSchool is and what the end goal of these courses are, and the options that we have beyond what the mini bootcamp is. And yeah, these lessons go really, really fast. So when is the homework due? There's no due date. Like, we're not your teachers, and but we recommend doing it before the next class starts. So that would be before Friday, just for the sake of keeping up with everything. Another question that I've seen a few times pop up is, will there be a certificate? Yes, there will be a certificate. And for some reason, my Slack just jumped up. Does the homework have to look exactly like the assignment? You should make it as close as you can. How do you know the exact pixel measurements? You won't. You're just kind of guessing. And that's kind of the idea of it, is, generally speaking. How do we upload the homework into a web assignment? There are a couple easy ways. The first one is using something called CodePen. It's codepen.io. And you can just put all your HTML and CSS in there. Again, the colors for this are just going to be rough estimates. We'll go over how to, because they're images, the inspect won't work as well on the images as it would on normal code. But later in the next assignment, we're going to go over responsive design and how to build things that work across devices. And that you'll use a lot more of inspect and exact colors in that. So you can add text if you want. It can be blank. Just the general idea is that you should learn how to recreate those assignments, somehow get it online, whether it's uploading it to GitHub or putting it on CodePen, and then drop a link in Web Assignment 1. Questions? Can someone mention the channel for? There you go, Web Assignment 1. And the link to the GitHub page, if you look at the Web Assignment 1 channel, you can see that it's pinned to the top. So if on Slack you go, I'll go ahead and go to it here. I'll go to questions. Up at the top, you can see the pinned items. So some other people have been importing stuff in the questions, but let's actually look at Web Assignment 1. There's only one pin, and that is a link to GitHub right here. We'll also send that out via email, and we'll put it on the archive channel. But yeah, another question is, will this video be available? Yes, it'll be available indefinitely. You can actually use the same link that you used to get here. Is it HTML layout or Web Assignment 1? I have no idea what HTML layout is. Somebody asked, how is this different from the normal LambdaSchool bootcamp? So the main difference is that there are a lot more people. So if you're in a normal LambdaSchool bootcamp, it's a really small class size. It's 10 people. You're having multi-way conversation instead of just massive people trying to use a Slack channel. And trying to communicate with way more people at once than should be feasible. Do we do all 3 folders or only the 3 documents within the folder? That's totally up to you. Can people still join? Yep, you can still join. You can view this as an archive after it's over and catch up later. Yeah, that should work just fine. When is this due? Not really due, but try to have it done by Friday if you want to keep up. Yeah, emphasis on trying to use the Slack channel. It's a little bit hectic. I wish I could show you guys my phone. I have, looks like 7,000 different notifications that have happened between the time we started this video and now. I'll be around all the time to answer questions. I obviously will be swamped trying to do a lot, but if you guys can help each other out, that will be huge. Recommendations for text editor for Android. I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. Can you pin the YouTube URL here? It's pinned in general, and then we'll email it out as well. Yes, we'll send it out via email. It looks like it contained different images than you showed off. Yes, that's entirely possible that Ben updated it while I was showing you stuff. I'll make sure that it's the same. Yeah, starting a study group, there are a lot of people. Actually, did I link the wrong one? I'll make sure that I linked it. So how long until Yahoo offers me a job? Yahoo requires at least a week of on-the-job experience, so probably next week. I'll make sure that stuff is linked in all the right places. LS Web Intro 1, that should be the same link that we were just looking at. So that should be the same. There may have been updates that I hadn't refreshed yet, but that should work just fine. Yeah, and that's it. If anybody wants to stick around and ask more questions, we're going to have kind of a general question and answer session about what LambdaSchool is and what we do and how it works and how it's different. Feel free to hang out for that if you need to go. No, we're not keeping you. And yeah, thanks for hanging out, guys. All right, so what is the difference between the bootcamp and the university? I did tell you. So the big difference between the bootcamp and the university is the length. The bootcamp is going to be 3 months and the university is going to be 6 months. And 6 months is just something that's hard to come up with for some people. But it also lets us make sure that we're more thorough. So it's going to be free up front, or there are a couple different options. If you go to lambdauniversity.com, you'll see all of that information. Basically, it's 17% of your gross income for 2 years for free, or for each $10,000 you pay, you can drop a full year of the 17% for every $10,000. As far as Lambda University, how will we decide? We've actually been working with a couple different tests to determine, basically to determine the likelihood that somebody will be a talented programmer. So we'll be using those tests, and then we'll be using some, we'll have some phone assessments. We'll basically be trying to talk to each candidate and try to find the best, probably 10 to 15 people. For Lambda University, is it possible to have a full-time job at the same time? No, it's not. You'd have to be full-time on Lambda University. If you want to instead keep your full-time job, we do have a part-time program for LambdaSchool that's only $1,000 up front and then $350 a month for a year. So it ends up being less than $5,000, and we can get you a job. Is university worldwide, or do you have to be in the USA? It will be worldwide. There will be a preference for some candidates in the USA just because it's more likely that they'll have higher incomes, and that's basically what we have to look for. So yeah, taking a step back, there are three, actually now 4 different courses that LambdaSchool offers. The first is the mini bootcamp, which is free. That's what you're doing. The second is part-time. So that runs basically in the evenings, Pacific time. And you can do that at the same time as you have a normal job. And that should get you to the point where you can get a job. And that's the goal. Part-time is focused mainly on front-end development, but there's a little bit around back-end. The full-time is 13 weeks, and it goes for basically all day, 6 days a week. And that we actually guarantee that you'll get a job. And that one's $10,000. And now we're introducing university, which is actually, it's somewhat related to the boot camp, but it's very, very different. It's a full computer science curriculum. We're going to go really, really into depth on everything. And yeah, so it should. So part-time is 13 weeks. Both are 13 weeks. Part-time focuses more on front end, and full-time will do front end and back end. How is Lambda different than other coding programs? That's a really good question. Basically, we came from other code boot camps and we're just really frustrated. A lot of them were kind of optimizing for how many students they could shove in one classroom, and it didn't work very well. So yeah, so we basically said, okay, what would it look like if we do it right and we do it entirely online? And that's how LambdaSchool was born. There is no part-time university, no. Full-time is full stack, yes. Has anyone ever got a job? As LambdaSchool, this is our first boot camp that's running now. It started in April. This is not the first mini boot camp. This is the third, I believe. This is definitely the biggest, and it'll definitely be the longest. We already have some students with offers, and for full-time, we do have a full money-back job guarantee. So yeah, we're very, very confident. I'd be shocked if there are anybody in either the full-time or part-time that doesn't get a job. Do you have a syllabus for Lambda University? We'll have that soon. When is the application for July 10th classes closed? They don't technically close, but they do fill up. So we're probably a couple weeks away from them being completely full. And once they're full, they're full. And then you're waiting until the next one, which is in October. So July and then October. Would it be possible to get jobs that work from home? Yeah, it's definitely harder, but it's definitely possible. How many people per class? It depends. Right now, the average is about 6 or 7. Yeah, we try to keep it to about 5 students per instructor because we have a lot of one-on-one time. Is learning full stack required for someone who's interested in front-end development? It's not required, but most employers are going to want to see some degree of back-end that you can do. You don't have to be an expert in it, but you have to, you have to understand, generally speaking, what's going on. Would focusing only on getting work from jobs still be included in the job or money back guarantee? I'm not entirely sure I understand what that means. How do you deal with the holiday schedule? Basically, we work around all holidays and don't include those as part of the 13 weeks. Let's see. Oh, work from home. Yeah, you can definitely work from home. That's a very viable option. The homework is recreating the 3 pages in the GitHub file. The homework is recreating the 3 images that are seen in the GitHub file. So you're going to be recreating those images in HTML and CSS. Do you have examples of the part-time program? Yeah, we record all of them, so we'll try to find some that we can share with you. I'll have to check with everybody. How do you deal with age? Age isn't really a consideration. There's no problem regarding age. It's just, yeah. I've heard a lot about age discrimination and people who experience it, but I've never actually seen it. Have you considered running a longer part-time class that includes front and back end? Yeah, we have considered that. It would be more expensive, but if you're interested in that, it would probably be about $10,000. Go ahead and shoot me an email, and we'll see if we can put something together. We have to find more qualified instructors first. We don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. And please stop archiving channels. No, the video's not frozen. I was just frustrated with the questions channel. Okay. Examples of the part-time are great. Yeah, I'll just have to check with the other students and make sure they're okay with that. My email is this, austin@lambdaschool.com. We don't yet have a syllabus for the Lambda University. We're working with a couple companies on that to make sure it's exactly what they want to see. And we'll basically be taking as much of that as we can into the full-time and part-time programs. But it'll be really, really good. It says it's not possible to do the university or the full boot camp with a full-time job. The only thing you would be able to do with a full-time job is the part-time boot camp. Is there a specific contact point to provide positive feedback and constructive thoughts? Sure, DM me. I know we're far from perfect, especially with this size. We kind of actually really suck at teaching 500 plus people at once. What about a part-time job? You could potentially have a part-time job and do the full boot camp. It would just be hard. What's the best way to code on a Chromebook? I'm not sure. I'd have to do some research. Looks like there are a couple GitHub links. I will fix that. Are we supposed to do a git init? You shouldn't have to do, I mean, if you want to use GitHub, feel free. Otherwise, you don't have to. How are the assignments submitted? You'll just create a link and post a link to web assignment 1. Just put your link in there. And then other folks will check it. When are the applications due for the July bootcamp? You should probably get them in the next week or so. What type of people are you looking for in Lambda University? We're just looking for people who have the ability to learn to be good programmers. That's really all we're looking for. Do you have some exams to choose a program I need? Bootcamp or Lambda University program? No, but I would say if you can get into Lambda University and you can afford the time, do that. I can tell you guys right now, it's going to be incredibly competitive. We'll probably see 5,000 plus applications and we'll be picking about 15 people. We'll grow it over time, but that's just the reality. Why would you say I should choose Lambda for the bootcamp? I would say we just focus on the right things. We're small class sizes. We focus purely on the code. And that's probably the difference. How many hours per week or per day will the full-time Lambda University be? It'll be basically 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, Pacific time. You don't have to move anywhere for it. You can do it from anywhere. We're out of California. We'll be out of the Silicon Valley, and you'll hear about who's invested in that program soon. But it'll be really cool. And you've definitely heard of them. Let's see, what other questions do we have? If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now, but I'll do my best to get back to you, or email me, austin@lambdaschool.com. If you're interested in the boot camps at all in July, you should apply now. And we can start working through the application process soon. Oh my gosh, I have 45 emails. There are currently no fellowships yet. We're kind of trying to figure that out. Lambda School has been around as Lambda School since January, so we're pretty brand new. We have been, we come from a long line of teaching people to code, but we were pretty frustrated that the other boot camps weren't doing things right, so we broke off and started our own. Can you watch the archived university lesson? Unfortunately, university is only going to be an option if you're around for those hours. We're working on internships for other bootcamp grads to answer the former question. and those should be coming out pretty soon. Where else do you teach? So I'm actually not a teacher for LambdaSchool. I just help out with the mini bootcamp. Ben is the main teacher. He's been at Hack Reactor and Dev Bootcamp. He's also been a software developer for a long time. And then the other instructors have worked at places that you certainly have heard of. My background is just, I dropped out of college, and yeah, I am a teacher now. Dropped out of college, taught myself to code, had a family, and needed a way to pay the bills, and that was the fastest way, and started making pretty good money doing it, and eventually wanted to help other people do the same thing. What were the particular problems with the other boot camps? It's just focus on the wrong things. Boot camps realize that if the more people you get in the door, the more money you make, and then you're not actually responsible for what happens on the other end of that. So you'll start to see, even the best boot camps loaded up with 30 teachers at a time. It's actually, in a lot of boot camps, it's against the rules to talk to instructors because they're so busy. And it's just a really broken system in the vast majority of them. So we wanted to just do everything really, really high quality. Is making your choice for candidates for the June class, or are you basing it off their portfolio, degrees, or other quality? No, we're making it surely off of aptitude. And my hunch is that the most qualified people are going to be some of the people who don't have degrees, and they don't come from wealthy families or live in a big city or whatever. They may be minorities who've just never been given a chance. The mini bootcamp covers HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We are currently not pursuing accreditation for the university program, and that is because LambdaSchool is for profit, yes. That is because the rules around accreditation tie your hands so much that you can't do anything even vaguely interesting. There are rules around how many of your teachers have to be PhDs. There are rules around how you can charge teachers. It's actually, if you don't charge up front, you can't be an accredited university. Bootcamp will cover HTML, CSS, and beginning to intermediate JavaScript. Is LambdaSchool for profit? Yes. Right now, we put all of our money into teachers, including some. We're bootstrapped for a long time. Now we have raised some financing that we can't talk about yet, but it's from the most legit investors, the most family-friendly investors, and that is what is allowing us to do Lambda University. So if I like what Lambda's offering, but I'm weary of paying so much money to a new school, is there a kind of guarantee of employment? Yes. The full-time program comes with a full job guarantee. So if you don't get a job, we give you your money back. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, the core of LambdaSchool is aligning incentives with our students and putting our money where our mouths are. So we believe that you can get a job, and so we guarantee that you'll get a job. It's really that simple. That makes it so we have to screen pretty rigorously and make sure that people are truly invested. But we're willing to take on that risk. Am I going to be teaching the whole mini bootcamp? No, I'm not. I'm going to be teaching the first few lessons, and then we will hopefully have another better instructor that comes in. Does the job guarantee also apply if I'm only looking for a work from home job? So you have to be looking for a job in a major city, and that is the only guarantee. There's a list of something like 60 cities. Is there career support at LambdaSchool? Yes, we are with you from the beginning up until you are hired, and even through salary negotiations and so on and so forth. We don't see our job as ending as at the education level. All the classes are completely live, and they're actually a lot better than this because you have a small class size, so you're connected in real time with other teachers, and instructors, and students. So yeah, let's see. Are we working with any financing institutions? No, because we believe that we should carry the risk ourselves. and we are doing that. And we are okay to do that. And then we control our own destiny, and we don't have to accept and deny the right numbers of people to please the lending institutions. That just, the interests aren't aligned, and incentives are everything. So yeah, we are underwriting the risk ourselves. That's why you've seen the financing options that we've just opened up. We're doing Lambda University. Lambda has existed since January, so we're pretty new. Yep. And you'll see a lot more from us in the press soon, and from investors and other companies, and it's a good horse to be riding. Can I get a list of that city for jobs? There's the list of the city for jobs. It's under our tuition reimbursement guarantee. Somebody was asking if there's a cap on the 17%. No, there is not. If you pay the $20,000 up front, then we don't take any of your income. If you pay $10,000, then we cap what you take at 17%. That is the first thing. General guidelines to be considered for full-time course acceptance. The main things are that we can see that you're dedicated and that you can pass a basic code challenge. So if you can get through this mini boot camp and you're dedicated, then that is a really strong indicator. We do still have, our acceptance rate hovers somewhere between 3 and 5%, depending on what day it is. I think we saw 120 applications come in today for a fairly limited number of spots. So just be prepared when the phone interview comes, and be ready for that. And honestly, we accept people that are willing to hustle and are worse at coding initially than people who are really good at code but aren't willing to work hard. So that's the main thing, is if you're willing to work hard, we can do anything. So yeah, we try our best to align our success with yours, and we're not successful unless you get a really solid job. What's the time frame between finishing a full-time course and not getting a job that meets the requirement for a refund? Honestly, I'd have to look at the details. I think it's 6 months or something like that. 270 days, so 3/4, so basically 9 months. And that's for extenuating circumstances. We really don't ever plan on using that. It's just there as an option for a few people. Do those already code in other languages still have a chance to be accepted? Absolutely. I may be bringing coal. Okay, that's not a question. Yeah, in fact, a lot of our students already have CS degrees. Not all of them, but some do. They've found that getting a CS degree at a less than reputable institution doesn't exactly help you get a job necessarily, especially if you don't code very much in your CS degree. So we can fix that problem real quick. You'll be coding a lot at LambdaSchool. Let's see, any other questions? CS degrees are not helpful. CS degrees can be helpful. They can be very good, but they are by no means a guarantee. If you won't finish the university program, so what? You mean Lambda University? Well, if you have that attitude, then hopefully we won't accept you in the first place. We don't have any recourse. We're investing in you, and we want the best for you, and we hope that you would want the same for yourself. But yeah, CS degree is by no means a guarantee that you'll get a really well-paying job and that everything will be set. What if you're in an area that aren't like Silicon Valley? I'm in Virginia. Are there a lot of jobs out there? It depends. That's why we kind of provided a list of the places that we, generally speaking, look at. Basically, we want you to be near a metropolitan area because that's where a lot of programming jobs are, and that's where there's enough of a critical mass to get a job. We don't expect everybody to be in Silicon Valley. In fact, the vast majority of our students aren't. And that's okay. That's totally fine. I'm not from Silicon Valley. There are a lot of jobs in a lot of places that aren't Silicon Valley. So what are starting salaries for entry-level developers? And that's one thing that definitely does depend on location. If you're in Silicon Valley, you're usually looking at around 90. If you're, from another city, it just totally depends. I'm 44 and I need to take care of my family. It's important for me to work and help make ends meet. So my option is part-time. Yes, yep, that's exactly what we created the part-time program for. Basically, it should be enough to get you to a job. Do you think it's possible to find a job after the mini bootcamp? You definitely have to do some more on top of what we've taught, because it's not going to be enough just to know some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and get a job. We have seen students who learned to program and a few months later got job offers for 140, 150,000. That's not the average, but it's definitely possible. And that takes a lot of hustle, but it happens, and that's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing. We live in a time where you can go from unskilled to making mid six figures in a few months. It's pretty crazy. If something happens and I can't finish the program, I mean, yeah, I guess that's a risk that we'll take. So if you sign up for one of our, say, our full-time boot camp and something happens, and can you jump in later? Yes, absolutely. Once you're a LambdaSchool student, you're always a LambdaSchool student, and you are welcome to attend any of the classes now or in the future. And we really just want the best for you. What if you're not interested in web development? Then LambdaSchool is probably not the best place for you right now. To be totally honest, I'd love to say that it is, but we're um, we'll be working on statistical analysis. Oh, somebody saw the LambdaSchool website or the Lambda University website. So in the future, I'm not going to talk about this too much yet, but we're working on programs for data science, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, and app development as well, and then some other stuff. But right now, there's no Python or Ruby. Would you offer a part-time course at some stage that wouldn't be in the middle of the night for Europe? Yeah, we've had a lot of interest from Europe for a part-time course that would basically be in the morning U.S. time, so kind of in the evening, I guess UK time. And as long as there's enough interest, and we can find a high-quality teacher, we would definitely do it. Lambda University, is there a lot of math involved? You have to know enough math to be a programmer, which is usually just basic arithmetic, but it's nothing too crazy, generally speaking. Unless you're going really low levels of software development, there isn't too much math at all. Will we be doing any Python or Ruby in the mini bootcamp? No, we will not. We'll stick to HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In fact, for the code bootcamp, we stick to JavaScript just so you're not context switching all the time and changing languages. It can get really confusing really fast. So, yeah. We'll also be teaching backend using Node with PHP admin and databases. We don't use PHP admin, but yeah, we use Node, we use React, we use MongoDB, we use Postgres, a lot of different backend technologies. And we actually teach both those in both the part-time and full-time. There's just more focus on them in the full-time. How long until the other programs join Lambda University? It's probably 3 or 4 months out. Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes that you guys will get to hear about soon, but it involves investors in Silicon Valley and all sorts of good stuff, and companies, really, really good stuff for the students. How much math prerequisite for data science? We don't know all the data science details yet, so I'm not gonna guess. Pied Piper, yes, definitely. We are Pied Piper. What is considered intermediate JavaScript? Things like objects, closures, classes, that kind of thing. So you should have pretty functional JavaScript knowledge. You should be able to kind of wield JavaScript at your will. I'm interested in Lambda University. This is something they may cover partly through financial aid. It depends. Because we're not going to be accredited, because we don't want to live by those rules. It's not something that, for example, government, FAFSA or GI bills will be eligible to pay for. So the only financing will be through, I guess, something you do personally or through LambdaSchool. Does a university come with the same guarantee as a 13-week bootcamp, job guaranteed, or it's free? Well, the university can be free no matter what. It's just a matter of if you get in. So if you want to, for everybody, the university is free upfront and 17% per year after you get a job for 2 years. And you only pay that, by the way, if you're making more than 50,000. Will the video lesson be pinned to the general channel once we're finished here? Yes, in fact, the same link will work. All right, I think that might be about it for me. So I will probably check out. Why limit the class size? Yes, it's for quality. We have found that in order to have a really high quality education, you have to have a lot of one-on-one interaction with an instructor. And you can do it without that, but the quality falls fast. The part-time is the same conditions as the full-time. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Chris. Yeah, just once you come back with a question, I'm not sure which conditions you're talking about. For the 17% after 2 years. So 17% is only for university. Part-time and full-time have nothing to do with percentage of income. They're just either you pay up front, or for part-time, you can pay $1,000 up front and then $350 a month for 12 months. So it comes out to about the same amount, but we break it down into really small payments to make sure everybody can afford it. And ideally cash flow it. We don't like people having to go into debt. I'm exploring CS in general. Will this course help on the path to big data? Yes, absolutely. Depending on which course you're talking about. But still, all of them should. Is Tomcat still in use today, or have they retired it? I have no idea what Tomcat is. All right. Thanks, guys. I will jump on the Slack channel and answer your questions in there. Why is my stream still going? And how do I stop it? Stop it.